Utah, give me 2.
What's up, everybody? Give me 2. It's Michael Govier. It's a Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's on Twitter and everywhere else you find all these things on the internet. I'm Michael Govier. That's Benjamin Chase. He is my partner here on the Prospects Power Half Hour. That's the edition of the show that you were getting today is Prospects Talk. You know, we're getting close to the end. We've covered a lot of teams. We've done many different shows, 2 teams per show. We did the one special opening day minor league celebration show where we did 4, which is unheard of. So you can catch all of these. All of these are on the YouTube channel at any time you want to watch them. So if you missed this now, it doesn't matter because the show will always be there for you and in podcast form wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, which should be the Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah.
So today's guest is a man with a moniker that you're all very familiar with, but he's not that Taylor Ward. No, he is Taylor Blake Ward, and he does cover the Angels, so it does make things a bit confusing, but just trust me. He's not nearly as good a ball player as Taylor Ward is. Is that correct, Mr. Taylor Blake Ward?
How dare you? I got
shocking information.
I know. I added the Blake after Taylor was drafted. I knew Taylor before he was with the Angels before he was drafted. And I broke the news of him getting the call up to the majors. And so there's a lot of people sat there saying, why is Taylor Ward breaking his own news?
Yes, Taylor Ward have his own PR, his own everything. He's just a one-man band. He does it all. No, this is Taylor Blake Ward, and we're excited to have you here. We're going to talk about the Angels, the top 3, the next big 3, their prospects, and, of course, Ben, we'll talk about the D-backs and their current crop, which is one of the hottest prospect farm systems in all of baseball.
Yeah, big on Arizona. I've gotten to see a few of the guys as they kind of come through, and definitely an enjoyable group that the Diamondbacks have. And the Angels, they're getting there. They're getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into it then. Let's get to it. Chad says, thank God he's not that Taylor Ward. That guy cost me $32,000. Oh, wow. What? That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
No way Chad has that amount of money. Don't even just disregard that. Okay, so Taylor, why don't you give us your top 3 prospects right now in the Angels system?
I did the top 30 for Baseball America, and I'm going to kind of lean with it. Chase Silseth was probably the big surprise over Edgar Caro, but I think Chase Silseth, the pitcher, is kind of that third guy that's really interesting. You could counter Edgar Caro as that third guy and maybe a 3-4 tie for 3 kind of thing. But Chase Silseth, 4 pitches that are very usable, swing and miss pitches. The fastball was kind of the concern, and he kind of added a cutter. I know they use the terminology sweeper now. Cutter, slider, sweeper, whatever you want to call it, is a real weapon. Able to throw strikes. Can he control the game and keep the game at his pace? And that's why he's in the AAA Salt Lake, but very impressive arm and has been very impressive while at Salt Lake. Over 3 starts, he has a sub-1 ERA. I think he's allowed 1 run, 2 runs, something along those lines over 15, 20 innings, however many it is. Logan O'Hoppe, number 1 prospect, and that was also another one that was very close to being debated with Zach Neto, who's the number 2 prospect. Logan O'Hoppe, a guy that a lot of faith there. A lot of guys, a lot of the pitchers really like him. His leadership skills are off the charts. It seems like the bat is going to come around and be impressive. Maybe an average, maybe above average. There's power there. There's contact skills there. There's on-base skills there. He's kind of the exact guy you want, and to have him at a catching position where he's going to be a good defender behind the plate. Really an impressive guy. Zach Neto, obviously a big surprise, 13th overall pick last year for the Angels, and made it to the majors in less than a year from his last, 317 days from his last college his last college hit to his first major league hit. So under that for his debut. Just an impressive young man. A lot of flair, in a lot of confidence in a fun and good way. The ability to really find the barrel of the bat. A good hitter. He's a little unorthodox. He's got a big leg kick before he gets to 2 strikes. His 2-strike approach is a little more interesting. Hold on one second here, guys. I know we're live. It's a little tricky.
Yeah. Who's here? Anybody here?
It's Alan Woolen.
Hey!
So, Alan did not know that we were recording a podcast.
Hey, how's it going, Al?
I'm going to have to help him out soon here. But yeah, Zach Neto, unorthodox, the two-strike approach, he scraps the big leg kick, but the leg kick is going to make it look harder than it is.
Yeah.
Kind of Josh Donaldson or Javi Baez or Willie Adames-like, even probably more dramatic than that, surprisingly. But a guy that you believe is going to play up the middle at shortstop even, has the arm for it for sure. It's the throwing decisions that are going to maybe move him around a little bit, but definitely the Angels are looking at him as their everyday shortstop, less than a year away from the draft. So very impressive. Top 3-4 for the Angels there. Edgar Caro, another guy. I know we didn't mention him. We might in a little bit here, but Edgar Caro, very interesting as well.
All right, there it is. You heard Taylor Blake Ward's top 3 here on the Palazzo Podcast. We're live talking Angels. Ben, do you disagree or agree entirely with the top 3 that Taylor has shared with us?
I think the top 4 are pretty clear, and I just have Guerrero one spot over Silseth, and that's really the difference. Is I've got 3 hitters on mine, and I think we're going to come up to it, but the rest of my folks that we talk about are all arms, and that kind of has something to do with an approach that the team has taken lately. But, I'm really excited to watch a guy like Ohapi, just because he's kind of in that new crop of athletic backstops that are typically you'd stick a guy who was too small to play first base, but just about that athletic, and put him at catcher. And that was pretty much the defining trait that you needed is, can you shuffle back and forth 2 steps really quick? Other than that, we don't care how much speed you have. And, I mean, there were a lot of catchers over the years who've dominated the grounded into ball double play statistic. But Ohapi is a part of that new group that's coming up, and guys like Bo Naylor in Cleveland. There's a host of these athletic catchers right now, and some of them are going to stick behind the plate, some of them not so much. Like MJ Melendez has already moved out from behind the plate, but that was another guy kind of in that same mold. And they're not zeros offensively, but they add something a little different. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if now and again, I'm not saying every year, but you saw double-digit steals out of Hoppy. Not saying he's going to be a consistent guy, but there's going to be some years where he might pop a 10 spot. And that's not something you normally see out of a catcher. So.
Okay, well, Taylor, I got a feeling that these next big 3 here for the Angels, and the Angels, when you think about dynasty baseball and you think about farm systems and you think about prospects, the Angels have had some huge prospects at certain times, but they've also been questioned at times for not having the depth. So how does the next big 3 shake out for the Angels system as you see it on April 20th, 2023?
I mean, you have arms. You mentioned it. A guy like Sam Bachman or Kai Busch. Kai Busch right now is down with an oblique, but these guys are right on the doorstep of joining the Angels, and it gives them depth. Now, you want them to develop. You want them to be a little more established as they kind of become major league products. But Sam Bachman, Kai Busch, they could help in the bullpen, very soon. We mentioned Edgar Caro. Edgar is 20 years old in Double-A and performing well. It's a small sample, but performing well. And the fact that a 20-year-old guy that is never played above low-A is gets an aggressive assignment. 20 years old, he's in Double-A, and he's performing. A lot of him, I don't think anyone's going to question the bat. I don't know if it would play right now, of course. Very young, hasn't seen major league quality pitching to adjust to that kind of stuff. But his defense is where we're kind of focusing when it comes to him. Very young catcher, just very evident he's young. It's going to work. His receiving skills are okay. They're going to improve. His blocking skills are fine. His arm is average. So he's going to be serviceable, especially when we go to robotic umpire. ABS, automatic balls and strikes. He's going to be a guy that you're looking at as an offense first catcher who's going to be able to do it. So very interesting guy. I just don't know how far away he's going to be. But Kai Busch, Sam Bachman, Denzer Guzman is down in low A. He's struggling a little bit to start the season, but a very interesting bat, interesting shortstop. Has the arm right now to play shortstop in the majors. Can he make the footwork and the decisions. But I think he's going to stay at shortstop, going to be able to hit. He's just a long ways away.
Wow. Well, I got so excited now. I really want to be an Angels fan. I don't know if I can commit, but I'm a little bit more excited now because of Taylor Blake Ward here. Ben, tell us that you agree with Taylor.
Well, I have technically I have 4 arms that I'm looking at, but Silseth to me is kind of your clear guy that was on my, he wasn't in my top, so he's kind of that next guy. But I have Sam Bachman, and I do think he and Kai Busch are kind of, you can have them interchangeable, really, as far as where they're at in their development and what you can project out of them as far as their potential major league role. And then I guess I'm really excited about 2 kind of high-octane arms that they got last year. And obviously, a lot of folks know Ben Joyce, and that's been a little not fun to watch so far this year. But he's certainly got the velo. It's just putting that over the plate has been a little bit of an issue. And then the other guy I mentioned is Jake Madden, who was another guy that they got last year. And just his raw stuff is really, really, really fun to watch. Now, is he going to be able to consistently get it over the plate to the point where he's not a relief prospect down the road? I don't know. But right now, it's really fun to watch him pitch. And he's a guy who didn't get a ton of college reps, and so therefore he's still kind of figuring it out as he goes. But he is an impressive pitcher that I think even if he ends up in the bullpen, he'd be a very valuable reliever.
You agree with that, Taylor?
Yeah, I think Jake Madden's a really exciting arm. Very young, very green. Had Tommy John coming out of high school. Was going to go to South Carolina, I believe, and transferred to some JUCO in Florida. And I can't say it off the top of my head. Northwest, Southeast Florida Junior College, Community College. But either way, very special arm, highly projectable body and frame. Chance to start, very athletic. So you're going to see some strike throwing improvements. Very good stuff plus, just raw stuff plus. So the pitchers are there. When it comes to Ben Joyce, the strides he made this spring were so impressive. He was able to throw that slider and improve that slider while gaining velocity to it, too. It used to be a kind of a show-me, off-balance, low, mid-80s pitch. Now it's a high 80s, low 90s actual slider, true slider. And he was able to front door it, back door it. It really impressed with the way he was able to develop that slider. The fastball is always going to be there. And it's, when you're 100-plus regularly, he was up to 104 in the spring. When you're 100-plus regularly, that can be an out pitch, and the way that he utilizes it. Right now, the Angels are kind of focusing on getting him into high-leverage situations, something he didn't do at Tennessee. So kind of getting him into those high-leverage situations. You want to say he's a closer of the future. You want to say he's a high-leverage arm of the future, but he's got to show it first. But definitely, I mean, how can you not love Ben Joyce? That is unicorn kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love unicorns. They're so beautiful. That reminds me of being a kid when they had that intro. What was the movie studio? They'd have that unicorn that come through the middle. Yeah, I can't remember which one. TriStar Pictures. That's what it was. TriStar Pictures. I just got that one. Donovan says, hello, everybody. You're in the live chat. If you have a question for Taylor while he's here, of course, Ben, you can ask it right now. Hey, Mickey. I don't think Mickey Moniak is as popular right now as Chad is about to say here. Chad says, Mickey Moniak still has major upside to be found if the K rate stays down. I would like to know what Taylor thinks of that. Taylor, you know this system pretty well. You know these guys. Do you think Mickey Moniak has a level to go to still?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's for him, a lot of it was just swing decisions. He was aggressive in the zone, which is what you want, but the swing decisions just weren't good. Simple as that. And now he's making better swing decisions. The Angels did do some minor tweaks to his swing, very minor. Excuse me, that's a drill. I'm not farting, I promise. I think Mickey has another level to go to. It's just he's got to prove it. And he's doing fine in Salt Lake. It was a slow start for him, but you're talking about 10 games or less kind of thing. It's still there, more platoon-like probably than an everyday kind of guy, in my opinion. which is not what you want from a first overall pick. And obviously, it worked for Philadelphia, that trade. That he was involved in the Syndergaard trade, which did work. You kind of combine the two with the Brandon Marsh and everything like that. But I think Mickey Moniak has some platoon to him, and the fact that he's a left-handed hitter is going to improve. Also, he's a great defender, very good defender, can play all three outfield positions. So he has some impact ability. But more so looking like a platoon option on the proper side of a platoon.
I could see a future, Ben, where Mickey Moniak plays a key defensive role on a World Series champion Angels team, like 2 or 3 years from now. I can see it happening. He's not going to be a guy that is going to be a huge fantasy guy. He's just not. I don't see that ever happening, and that's okay. We're not talking about. This is about prospects in dynasty baseball, sure, but if the guy can make a life for himself and forget about how high he came in with the number 1 overall status, that's just something that's got to be removed. And it's really hard to remove that mentality from your own existence when you were given all this pub and all this hype, and then you realize that you're not that guy. That's a hard transition to make for Mickey Moniak, and I still see a bright future for him as a role player.
But the nice part for him is he's now in a new org. And so he's got a shot with an organization that didn't take him number 1 overall, didn't invest that kind of framework around him, which is, for me, and Taylor, you can comment on this, I really feel like that might be what has to happen with Joe Adell.
I would agree. And the thing is, Joe just turned 24 years old. Mm-hmm. Mickey, I think, is within months of Joe, if I'm remembering right. And a lot of people are going to sit there and say, "Hey, Al, so you out of here?" All right, good seeing you.
Hey, Al, take it easy. Mickey's gonna be 25 next month. So
and I think a thing when it comes to things like that is we forget that a lot of guys don't blossom until they're 27, 28 years old. You look at Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward himself, you forget that he's a 4th, 5th year major leaguer, 29 years old now. Guys sometimes don't blossom until they hit their certain peaks. And you want to see the Ronald Acuñas, the Wander Francos, the Mike Trouts of the world that are coming, they're teenagers or 20 years old and torch the league, but that's just not the case. So there is time for Mickey, there is time for Joe, but I think this is a big year for Joe. And I think at some point, the two parties have to make a decision on, is this the best thing for our futures? Is Joe Adell the best thing for the Angels, and are the Angels the best thing for Joe Adell? I think it is the case. I think that this is a good relationship to stand on, and I think Joe is going to make the improvements and become a very good baseball player in time. But I think it's going to take time, and if you run out of patience, and that might be where the Angels and Joe are.
And the Angels have had a good history with guys who are non-linear in their development. I mean, Jared Walsh is another example, like you mentioned. Matt Tice, is that right? Tice.
Rhymes with rice.
Okay. But he's another guy who he came in with a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it hype, but there was a lot of expectation around him as far as a hitter. And he's taken some time, and he ended up going off of the plate and now coming back to the plate in order to make it as a major leaguer. Now, is he a star catcher? No, but he made it. And how many guys in that same draft class are going to, never see a day of major league time? And so he's worked through a non-linear prospect development to get to be a major league ball player. That's, organizations that are willing to do that takes patience, but it's hard. It's a little harder to do with a guy that you picked in the top 10 like Adell. That's when you pick a guy that high, it gets a little tough to keep having that patience, especially if there's some good value in moving him, frankly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. I want to know, though, Taylor, we got to move on to the D-backs. Last thing, though. My guy, Verner Blakely, is from Detroit here. He's from Detroit Edison Public School Academy. I live in Michigan in the Detroit area. I'm wondering if I can get some quick thoughts on him from you, since you know a thing or two about the Angels.
Yeah, good tools. Doesn't really have a defensive home. They're going to try him at third base, second base, left field, and see if they can find where. But the bat's definitely there. Dealing with a lower body injury, to my knowledge, right now. So he's not assigned anywhere. Will be in high A when he does get assigned. But yeah, I mean, there's power there. There's offensive skills, and you're banking on those offensive tools and hoping the athleticism is going to get him somewhere in the field. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we put him in the top 10 Angels prospects, so definitely someone we view as a higher end guy. I think we put a 45 grade on him, so platoony in a sense, but still a left-handed hitter. Hits from the left side of the plate, and that's a good platoon to have if you can find a defensive home for him, and if maybe he becomes versatile, athletic, versatile guy.
Oh boy, I'm rooting for you, Blakely. I hope it works out. Get to see him rolling here. I think there's more. I think he's got a lot of passion for the game, but the question is, when you're the best in your area and then you go to the minor leagues even, suddenly you're not as special as you used to be. It's so crazy. It is. You can't even. I think about the best guy I ever saw play in a softball rec league in my life. Like that guy who dominates everybody there in that town is nothing compared to somebody at low A. It's just wild. It's so crazy to think about the level these guys are on. So let's move into the D-backs now. We talked Angels here. We're live with Taylor Blake Ward and, of course, Big Gentle Ben on Twitter for Ben. And I'm at MJ Govier. Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah.
That's how you find it. And, of course, Taylor Blake Ward is Taylor Blake Ward on Twitter. Give him a follow. Check out his work. He's got a cool book that he's got pinned to the top of his Twitter feed that I think is something I'm probably going to make a purchase on here. It's about scouting and a lot of fun baseball stuff. So check that out at the top of his Twitter feed, Taylor Blake Ward. Taylor, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks who are getting all the love now, it seems like. I remember 3 years ago, I was feeling this farm system that the D-backs were brewing and getting excited about it. But now everybody's in on it. It's trendy. It's hot. Who are the top 3 prospects right now in the Diamondback system?
Starting off, Jordan Lawler. You talk about impact. He could go 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts and impact the game. I love the kid. He is one of the top prospects in baseball, in my opinion. Really, just I think he can hit. I don't think he's going to have a lot of 0 for 5 strikeout games at any point. There's power there at the plate. Just a lot of impact at the plate. A lot of impact on the field. Base running is just high IQ. I absolutely love Jordan Lawler, and probably the best guy I've seen in a while that came out here from the Cal League. Big fan of him. Drew Jones, I call it an obsession. I'm trying to think of a different word so it doesn't come off as an obsession because I really like Drew Jones. Hitting is going to be an interesting thing for him. There is a lot of development left in the bat. There is power there. There is contact skills. It's just getting to it and kind of staying balanced at the plate. He's coming off a lot of swings. But fast guy, defense, he could go play center field for the Diamondbacks right now. You talk about a special, and I mean, you don't ever want to compare him to his father because he's not his father, but has an obvious skill set that is similar traits to his dad. Drew Jones, definitely a guy that I'm keeping an eye on. And as long as he can continue developing the bat, isn't rushed, maybe spends a year in Visalia here, really an interesting guy. And I'm always going to butcher Brandon's name. I say Fat. It's not Fat. I can't think of how to pronounce his name.
Brandon Pifa. How about that? Brandon Pifa? Does that work?
I'll take that. Either way, elite strike thrower with good stuff. The fastball is going to play. It's a low to mid 90s fastball, but it's going to play. Strike throwing ability. Has a really good slider. Has 4 pitches that break away off of each other. If I can pronounce his name, then I'm going to really like him. But until then, no, this guy is probably going to come up really soon, too. I think he is starting today against the Angels AAA team.
Yeah, we thought it would happen today. Everyone was saying, because they outrighted or they designated Madison today, Bumgarner.
Yeah.
But didn't happen.
Unless something happens before this afternoon, this is a guy that's going to be up very soon. And I don't know if I would put a pitcher in the Rookie of the Year category by any means, but definitely a guy to keep an eye on when it comes to that kind of caliber arm. I love strike throwers that have good stuff, and how can you not? I mean, that's like the most obvious cop out of all time, but just a guy that fills the zone. And I'm a big fan of that.
Apparently, it is Brandon Fought. I never looked this up, but the pronunciation says Fought, like You want to fight? We fought. We fought, and it was intense, and Brandon fought me and beat me because he's very powerful. So there it is. Brandon Fought is a very exciting player. Ben, do you agree with the top three? I mean, it's hard to disagree with that top three for Arizona.
No, and I mean, especially now that my preseason one had Carroll, and I mean, he's kind of your obvious guy, but he's obviously not there anymore. You move him off, and those are pretty clear three after that. I think you kind of had a pretty definite four with that team coming into the year, and then Carroll has now graduated. So, yeah, it's a pretty obvious trio at the top. And, I mean, I've been preaching a lot of Fought over the last year, trying to convince people that this isn't a guy who just happened upon 200 strikeouts. He's been doing it, and yeah, to open the year this year, the ball's been leaving the park, but he's in the PCL. If you look at the rest of what he's done, it's pretty darn sexy. It's he's just happens to also be in the PCL, and balls tend to leave parks pretty quickly in the PCL. So that's not a whole lot you can do about that. But
no, that's never going to change. That's the way it is, the Pacific Coast League. So who wants to go next? Taylor, you want to go to the next big three, or Ben, you want to go first?
Oh, I can crank out mine. I have Davison De Los Santos, Dre Jameson, and then I guess you can kind of pick your choice of other high-level guys who are in AAA or in the majors or on the cusp of the majors, as you have, Ryan Nelson, or you could throw Blake Walston in there. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that would kind of be your next guy up in the system, and just a matter of who you like best at that point, because they've got a lot of guys that are, kind of in AA only because the AAA rotation is so full. Tommy Henry is up at, has been kind of announced as the guy who's taking the first start for Madison now that Bumgarner's gone, but you could absolutely make a good argument that he's a viable guy within that discussion too. But they have a number of guys that are kind of right at that cusp that could at least fill in the back of a rotation.
Ooh.
With a little more upside on guys like Jameson, I think has got significantly more upside as long as he can locate.
Yeah, he's already on his way. Jameson is looking good, and you were talking about Rookie of the Year, Taylor. It's kind of crazy to think of a pitcher, but Dre Jameson's already got an edge here. He's got a leg up on Fought already, and I really like Jameson's stuff. But is there anybody else in the next big three beyond the top three for Arizona that you'd like to mention, Taylor?
I mean, Davison De Los Santos is a very interesting bat. Raw power off the charts. A really interesting bat. Just swing decisions. Is he going to be a free swinger? And if he is, how much is he going to play? But really like just the corner profile of the power and the corner profile. You mentioned Dre Jameson. I'm in the boat that I feel like he's a two-pitch, smaller guy, so it's a little tricky to believe he's going to be a starter, but he's definitely has a strike-throwing ability to do it, which I think is I like that. I mentioned it earlier, strike-throwing with the stuff. It's just, can he get that third pitch kind of thing, and that's where I'm a little iffy on. Is the changeup going to be a real weapon that kind of helps him? But a guy that, I mean, we talk about a two-pitch guy, Landon Sims. I'm a big believer. Yeah. If he's healthy and he comes back to what he's doing, this was a guy that had a chance to go in the top 10 picks and was really shoving his way towards, there's always going to be questions because of how fiery he is and the arm angle and everything, but definitely a guy I'm a big fan of. I really like Landon Sims. And, you talked about Blake Walston. I'm going to add AJ Vukovic in that, athletes, big-time athletes. Walston was a football player, quarterback, high school quarterback. Yeah. Vukovic was a really good basketball player. I like athletes. I like strike throwers. So I really do like the Diamondback system and kind of where they're at the moment.
Ben, what do you think of Blaze Alexander, Ben? Is this a guy who is being blocked because Nick Ahmed and Geraldo Perdomo are there, or is he a guy that really may never get the chance because he's not as great as we'd want him to be?
I think Blaze Alexander is a slightly better hitting version of Nick Allen. He's an incredible defender. And like Mason Wynn might be the only shortstop with a better arm in the minors. It's really, really an arm when he uncorks it. Issue is, you got to hit a ball too. That's got to be part of your profile. And when he does, he's got a very electric bat when he makes contact. It's how is that contact going to transfer? And it's you mentioned De Los Santos's swing decisions, and he reminds me a lot right now of watching Miguel Sano come up with the Twins when he was a minor leaguer. Sano had such a quick bat that he could make crap decisions and still hit 270, 280 with big time power. And then he got to the majors and everyone exposed those crap decisions. And so suddenly he's hitting 220, and every now and then he'll pop out 30 bombs because that's just the type of contact he makes. But you got to have more to the profile, because here we are, Sano's 30 and out of the major leagues, so that kind of profile doesn't have a long-term shelf life if you can't. I mean, you got to add something defensively and or you got to find a way to make better swing decisions. So
fair point. Hey, Blaze Alexander is a sweet name, but you need more than the sweet name to make it to the bigs. That's for sure. Chad wants to mention, it'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Christian Robinson is returning soon. Who, Christian Robinson was super, super hyped, and then just injuries. It's just unfortunate, right?
I mean, a highly athletic kid that just there's a lot there. I'll pass that one on to Ben on that one.
Hey, all right, wow.
There's a lot of legal stuff going on.
Yeah, it's injuries were part of it, but Ben, go ahead.
I missed I didn't know this part of it.
Yeah, digging into that story, you're going to end up down a rabbit hole that might take you about 4 or 5 days to come out of, because there's a lot of he said, she said on like family involvement and there's just all kinds of stuff. And that's why he initially couldn't get back into the country last year, is because of the legal stuff. And he was. And so now he's still trying to, if I remember right, there's a felony sitting over him, and so he can't enter the U.S. right now, like that type of a charge. And so he's got to get that all cleared before he's even allowed to play. And that's the big issue. And still lots of raw talent, but now he's missed 2 full years of development on top of that, which that doesn't help anybody when they're raw and needing to develop. So, he's a fun player, but yeah,
I didn't know that. Wow. Okay, see, that's what you learn here. Sometimes there's so many people out there in the minor leagues. You want them all to succeed, but not every story is a happy one, and that's okay. Life is a microcosm. The minor leagues are a microcosm of the world we live in here in the United States, and I root for everybody to do the best they can, and we want to thank Taylor Blake Ward for doing the best he could today. He really crushed it. Full dominance, I would say. I'd say it's like a 7 innings, 3 hits, 8 Ks, 1 walk. Really dominant quality start from Taylor Blake Ward today. Well done, sir. We thank you for coming on. Anything you want to pump out there to the masses if they liked what they saw today?
Yeah, we're working on a startup. Ross Marchese, who used to be ESPN LA Times, him and I are working on some things, and he's pushing out a online outlet, an affiliate that's going to be fun, called the Sporting Tribune. We've brought on some fun staff members to cover the Angels, and we're Las Vegas, Hawaii, Southern California, and having some fun with that. And like you said, if you want to purchase a book, we're available on Amazon. The book's called Search of Millionaires, Life of a Baseball Gypsy, life story of Bob Fontaine Jr., who signed Tony Gwynn, Randy Johnson, Ozzie Smith, many others, a lot of the 0-2 Angels team, so a lot of fun with that. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, at Taylor Blake Ward. Keep it simple.
Hell yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, I'm going to get that book. I get that wherever books are sold, I assume.
That's a fair assumption.
Okay, good. If not, I'll hit you up and I'll get one. I'm going to make it happen. And we want to thank you so much, Taylor Blake Ward. This has been great. Talking Angels, D-backs, the next big 3. Ben, we did it, man.
We're done. We hit all the systems.
This was the culmination, Taylor, of 3 months? How long we been doing these shows?
Yeah. Did our first one before the first of the year. So
big old attaboy.
Yeah, attaboy. That's right. Attaboy. Tisk, tisk. Attaboy. Look, I'm really glad we got all the systems done. Now we can get back to kind of talking about what's going on with the season, and we'll be doing that just like we always do. So each week, the Prospects Power Half Hour will be here for you. We'll catch you up on the latest and greatest related prospects of Dynasty Baseball. For Taylor Blake Ward, he is Benjamin. Follow my Twitter, Big Dental Ben. I'm at MJ Govia, Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Give me 2.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll catch you next time.